Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Ugh. Chillax a little bit until people start to funnel in, hopefully. I need to turn down the music in my... I was about to say butt, I mean ears. It would be weird if you were listening with your behind, though. How would that work? Because when you think about it, it's a bandwidth issue. Like, why do you have your eyes and your ears so close to your brain? Why is the graphic card in the first slot on your motherboard? Why is the RAM right next to the CPU? Bandwidth issues. So I don't think it would work if you were listening with your behind, because the distance, also depending on how tall you are, between your ass and your brain is comparatively long when you think about nerve activity. Well, I think. But also it makes sense that you have your sensors at the highest point to get most data. Like if you were only looking out of your, let's say, toes, you didn't see very much. And everything is taller than you. The same with sound. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that's a weird thing. I don't know. Let's see if this works. I am screen sharing my laptop with a capture card. See if this is the... Oh, that's the right one. Oh. I fucking hate fingerprint readers. There you go. Here we go. I need a bigger desk. Oh, how do we do this? Either I need a bigger desk or I need to not have so much junk on my desk. So if I move my keyboard... Because the whole idea here is that we... Hopefully, this will work. but I don't know. Just looking at some settings here on my streams. Just oh, yep, yes. Okay, it looks like it's working. So I don't know how big the delay is between. About 3-second delay on what's going on the laptop. I hope that will work when I'm explaining stuff. I don't know. I hope. Well, anyway, we can. But if the delay becomes an issue, we can fix it because you can delay the input. But also, I think there will be a recorded video if everything goes right of this one here on my channel. But this could be a long ass segment. Because this is really evolved to some degree, meaning that you can basically customize Windows, if you know how, almost to the same degree as Linux. Yeah. I will say it again, you can customize Windows almost to the same degree as Linux. Like I have a custom bar down here. So there's two things you need to know. Let's not restore. I can't remember what I had here. Download Windows 11, 24H2 or whatever, whatever you want, and you just go in here on Microsoft Download. You can create out of your install. You can download a disk image, which you want. You go in here, you do Windows 11 Multi. You click download now, and it will do some blah, 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 blah. You choose your language. Normally I'd say English US, but international is fine. You confirm. And it will give you a link. Oh, here, this here. And it works for 24 hours, so you can technically copy the link and send it to a friend or to yourself, or leave the site up if you need to, if you're not doing it right away, which you should. And then you get an ISO with Windows on it. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is you need to have a tool that can actually modify your Windows ISO. And it's called NT Lite. So again, if you go in here, it's this little sucker here. And you just get the free version. It's well good enough. Unless you are some sort of system administrator, I would say. Again, remember, this is meant for you, yourself, and nobody else. Or let's say you're an IT administrator at a company and you set up 10,000 of the same computers. You can use this tool to have all the drivers, the user account, the Microsoft accounts, the updates you wanted, the infrastructure setup already done. So think about like a fresh setup computer ready to go, instead of having one that's already set up and then run for like, I don't know, week or month, that you then make like a copy or image of, that you then transfer over to all the others, because then you get all the, or could get a lot of cookies and unnecessary shit that you don't want on the other computers also. So this is like I'm installing Windows on 20, 50 of the exact computers for the exact same user department or stuff like that need, hey Cody, nice to see you. I was feeling I was all alone in here. that will just make it easy if you have the same hardware and the same setup requirements for all the computers. I am a little bit in YouTube mode because I'm also recording this, so bear with me here. And there's a little bit of a delay from what I'm saying and what's going on the screen. I hope that's okay. So when I explain something, if some of you have a question, I will wait a little bit so I know it's shown on the screen. I could change the delay or something. I don't hope it's only like 2 or 3 seconds. So, but yeah, you need the Windows ISO. You need this tool. Use it professionally or use it for yourself. If you, let's say, you install Windows once a year. But don't distribute this ISO you make. That's illegal. Don't sell it. That's even more illegal. This is just for you or for your work. At work right now, switching a preparing a Windows 11 laptop to upgrade someone from. I don't understand. Oh, you're upgrading someone from Windows 10 to 11, I guess. So we got the program, we got the ISO. Then let's start the program. Wait, what? Oh, I forgot to close it down. There you go. I'm just being stupid. So this is how it looks like. And again, this is the free version. You can get a paid one where you get more access to things. Oh, you're switching out someone's laptop from Windows. Oh, yeah, that should not be that difficult. Or depending on how much stuff they have on it. So right now, you have your own Windows installed here, but we don't want to mess too much around with that one. What we want to do is make an ISO. We want to make our own personalized ISO without telemetry as much as we can. You can go deeper than I do. AI out, maybe some pre-installed programs you don't want, whatnot. But to do that, we need to fetch the ISO we just downloaded. So we click Add up here. And we click Image ISO, Vim, whatever it's called. And we go into Downloads. And you can see here we have the, I already downloaded this one, Windows 11 25H2 English. We click that one. So this is all the versions you can now see that we can mess with. We can do home, N, I think it's for like the, what is it called? The lockdown version. Home, single language, education N, Pro N, Pro Education N, Pro for workstations, Pro N for workstations. I always just use Windows Pro. And I'm not going to get into the whole activation side, because if you have a laptop, there's a high chance that the license for Windows is built into your BIOS. Meaning that when you install Windows, it will look, and if the Windows version you install matches the one that you got with your laptop, it will just automatically activate. Or if it's a universal license that on your laptop, stored on your laptop's BIOS, it don't matter. Oh, sorry, I hit the microphone. If it's Pro or Home or whatever it is. If it don't activate, there's ways around that, and I will not go into those. Figure that out among yourself. Also, if you already have, let's say, a desktop computer and you already have it activated once, and you use a Microsoft account, it remembers that you have that activated. So you can reinstall Windows over and over and over again, and it knows that this computer with this account, with this hardware BIOS info, already have a license. So, you can just upgrade as you want. So I will have Pro, and you just double click on, and it tells here create avoidable blah 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 blah, and you just click OK. You can configure this if you want to, but for the purpose of this, we just click OK. And depending on your hardware, this could take some time. There are things in this here we are doing that will especially make the ISO takes on this laptop about 30 minutes. And some access that you do in here can take longer and slower depending on your network speed, your hardware, and all that stuff. But right now it's extracting, making a fake file system that you can go in and fuck around with. Linux do the same. That's how when you make your customized Linux versions, you are working in a lot of instances inside a virtualized file system that you then customize and then compress that into working on your ISO. We got a based image with software that most users will use. I just have to install to it. Yeah, so that's what you can also use this for, where it has pre-installed software. We'll go into this when it's unstructured, the ISO. You can do unintended, so a lot of programs will have unintended versions. So Firefox and Chrome and whatnot. That means that they install without the user input. You can have that done. You can have that pre-installed on this ISO, so post-install or even sometimes pre-install, it does some settings for you, or set up software for you, or hardware for and also hardware. But let's pretend that in first login, it takes all the files in this folder and install them. And that could be all your favorite tools and whatnot. I don't know how to explain it, but this is kind of what they do on the Azure end administrators when they deploy Windows installs. You can also do it locally with a script file. I can't remember what it's called, but you can do it locally with a script file. But what we're doing right now is what a typical admin will do to deploy Windows on X amount of computers in the network or in the workforce, or as lame as doing right now, someone like me would sit in an office, do all of this, either in the cloud or on their computer, and then just say to the support department, every time a new computer come in, use this ISO. So that could be like taking off automatic Windows updates and then only updates from our Azure servers. Set that up, or company branding, default usernames, default access to servers and networks and whatnot. And we are already in here, and it's now doing a little bit of fine-tuning here. Oh, it was long enough to my screen actually dimmed down a little bit. So they also have like a recovery method. Like this tool is super advanced. Massively advanced. And I'm not going to go into each individual little detail, because then we will be sitting here till next year or something like that. You can also see over here, I already made an ISO today. That's why I thought up about making this live stream, because I refresh a new ISO every, I will not say month, year to 6 months. And it remembers your last preset here. So I technically could use my old configuration and go in and tweak that and stuff like that. However, if you only do it once a year, 6 months, I recommend just starting all over again. Because modifying current ISO can sometimes get a little bit iffy with updates and stuff like that. But over here on the left side, we basically just have a I look at it as a list, but it's menus you can go in and customize stuff from. But I'd say we just go from start to bottom and do whatever I want to do in there. And the first one is update, so we click that one. So this is all the existing packages I already have on my computer, and we can import them if we want to, like I said, hardware and whatnot. It's all in here. If we want to. I typically don't do that because, again, the ISO I make, I use it for myself, I use it for people, if I do support for other people or work-related stuff and whatnot. So I will keep things in I normally would not like myself, but I will take stuff out that I know 99% of end users don't need. End users don't want, and if they do, I will install it for them while I'm setting up the computer, or tell them that if you really, really want Teams, go install it, because most people don't use the Teams that comes with Windows. They use the enterprise version of Teams, so they go onto the store and install it anyway. But we want them updates, like the Windows accumulated previews and all that bullshit. So what we want to do is we want to click add, that little add you see here, and it pops out. So you can have the files, you can have a dictionary where you have all your updates on. So that would typically be like how our IT department will do. They would have a dictionary where one computer download or an update from Windows, and they test them and make sure they work on a few computers, and then they will have a dictionary that all the rest of the computers look into, and when that comes in there, then they will update. But we just want to include the latest online updates on this ISO. So everything you need from today is on the ISO. So you don't have to update 10,000 updates. Depending on how long you wait, you may have. So I typically just keep this almost identical. So cumulative updates, I just take the first one. You can see it says a checkpoint, so that means that it will have all the previous ones. It's also already installed. You can see here which one is missing and what is not missing. So let's keep that .NET framework. Morning, George. We are customizing Windows to the same degree as Linux today. .NET framework, I will just leave that in. What it does, it do look at your computer and see how it's set up, and do pre-check a lot of stuff for that. So what I typically will do is Windows Package Manager, app install winget. I like that, so I will install that. So that means you can go in to your terminal. This is pre-installed, and you can do winget update. I don't have my left mic on, so forgive me if I sound a little bit like I'm away from the microphone. And it will tell you if there's any Windows updates or programs updates. So you see if I've WinStat and subsystem for Linux and stuff like that. So I do like that. I want PowerShell and not Windows PowerShell. Massive difference. Windows Terminal, you could enable that one if you want to. Windows Subsystem for Linux, if you want that pre-installed on your ISO. So every time you install in Windows, you get Subsystem for Linux. I don't like that. I don't need that. And then there are some others, but that's all you want. And what you want to do here is you just queue it up. Boink. And it will just tell you that it will download them and replace what it will replace and whatnot. So yes. So that's most likely because I already have done this. So normally you will not see that arrow, just disregard that one. But these are the ones that are going to get modified, updated, downloaded, whatnot. Drivers. You can see here, it's looking at my computer right now. So let's say that we have like 10 or 50 of these computers, exactly the same hardware. We can now go and download all the missing drivers here. So it becomes easier to install it on the other ones. But because this is like a clean slate kind of thing, I don't typically do that because I don't know if I have an AMD chipset on the next computer I'm installing this on. you know. But if it's an exact identical computer, you can think of this as, well, for the next year, 2 years, our company is buying these exact computers. So you can have an ISO for Dell laptops, Dell Latitude, whatever. You can have an ISO for Lenovo T14 for the sales department. You can then have an ISO for Dell Latitude for the devs, or the Dell Pro for devs, and you can have an ISO for Lenovo Carbon X1 Gen 4 for your, what is it called, your executives. Because they will have the same hardware. So you can just pre-install all these drivers, Windows then have to download after it's installed. But because this is an ISO I make that is going to be installed on laptops, desktops of all kind of manufacturers and whatnot, I just leave this be. I love Winget. I only had one issue with it, that it broke EA app. Yeah, but that's an EA problem. I had that also, but that was EA pushing up bad build. The registry, kind of self-explanatory. If you want to go in and be a dangerous boy, girl, whatever, go in here. But I would say for 99% of people, me included, never fuck around in the registry now. Do that later. Because what works on your computer with the registry may not work on Bob's computer in the registry. Post setup, so before login and after login. So this is where, if you have unintended installs, so like let's say you pre-install company software, Firefoxes, Chromes and whatnot that support unintended installs. You can do it, some can be done before login. And after first login, it can then set up a lot of things. You can have scripts, files. In the Linux world, think about it as what the installer do before you log in, post user setup, and what get triggers when the user set up. Some Linux distributions, like when you make your username, it triggers a script that then make a home folder. So think about it like this after login. It's like, what do I want this specific user to have? And that can be like if it's associated with the username. So you can have, like, let's say, after login, when Kent log in for the first time, it then also make a Kent folder on the company shared NAS in employee folder or something like that. Before login is typically where you will install drivers or company software, browsers, whatnot. You can also see you can do some commands here. You can do crazy amount of shit here. I spent a few years looking into this program, and I may only know 1% of what you can do post and pre-install login. Like this is like, if you're a Linux person, think whatever the fuck you can do with Linux, you can do with Windows here. But I typically don't fuck around with this. One time I pre-installed Chrome for the fun of it, but a lot of people have their own preferences, so I just leave this be, because, again, this is not I'm not installing this on identical hardware for identical use cases. This is an ISO I use as a generalized ISO. So remove, is there any components you don't want? And you can also go in and do a scheduled task if you want to fix them. So it's giving us a warning that some will trigger us and some. This is where you can go in and customize Windows so much that you can ruin it. I've done that. I customized Windows so much that I couldn't even get a login screen. It installed perfectly fine. It didn't ask for a user account. You can technically make it into a headless install here if you want to. You can remove not Internet Explorer. You can remove Explore, the kernel. It probably will yell in bits a lot, but you technically can't do it. So be mindful and only remove stuff you know will not break the system. It's over the updates of this program, it has gotten better at informing you or plain out say you can't do this because it will break the system. Back in the earlier days, you could, like I said, I managed to get a really streamlined. I was like, this is a really streamlined version of Windows. Like it's so slim. There's almost nothing on it, and I basically took out everything besides the desktop. But I didn't, I couldn't make a user account unless I went into like what is it called, safe mode and all that shit. So just be aware, and this is where we will go in and have a little bit more of a, in quote, detailed look at what's going on in here, because there is a lot. So if you click apps here, and you can see the ones that's dimmed out is the one that I've never tried it, but I think this is the one you can't remove. So this one here you cannot remove either. Bing search inbox app, which is what you may want to do. But you could go in here and you can remove the AV1 video extension encoder. So now you can't watch AV1 videos. You see what I'm coming at here. Clipchamp, the inbuilt-in video editor. Yeah, I don't need this. What I'm doing here, I'm doing what I would be doing. Again, yours will be different. But be really careful. And I will explain a little bit of the things that people tend to drop into and remove, and then they don't know they need it. Cross-device experience host, Dev Home. It don't hurt to have it there, but you could remove that one. The first one I would leave. So if I don't say anything about them, you should probably leave them up. You can also see over here how many megabytes they actually take up of Windows. The feedback hub is actually somewhat important, because if there is a problem and you want to report it, you need the feedback hub. And I'm a firm believer, if you want to criticize Windows and tell them when they fuck up, you need to have a way to tell them when they fuck up, and you do that with the feedback hub. There's another one here that's grayed out. I simply don't fuck around with that. Game bar, game speeds window. A lot of people's like, I don't need Xbox and game bar because I'm a Steam user. Well, there's a lot of games that need it. Just, I don't know why, but they need it. There's a lot of software that are reliant on it. So MSI, for example, have some tools that integrate into the game bar. So in-game, you click the game bar, I think it's Windows G, and it comes up. And you can customize stuff in MSI Control Hub. If you don't have game bar, it won't install. So some software requires you to have game bar because they integrate into game bar. So that means you can in-game modify a lot of stuff without having to click out of your game. It's really irritating, but I've noticed it's better to leave all the if you are a gamer, leave the Xbox stuff in there, because more and more third-party tools are relying on those backends being there. I don't know if it's because Microsoft sent a good-looking girl their way and they made a deal, or if it's because it actually makes it a better tool and more better integrated with Windows 2. I don't know. I just know that if you are a gamer and you take a lot of this gaming stuff away, I've seen a lot of people do, there are services and games that won't run properly. Get help, also, no size, so why not have it there? Another video encoder, good thing to have. This is one of those things where you can say, F you, Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is a newer-ish implementation. So this is basically for their Office. There's another one for their non-Office suite. So this one here, we will say, if I want AI, I will install it myself. Another one a lot of people may want to remove, but I typically keep in, because I do use Bing in the search bar. I do use Bing as a search engine. It's really good for pictures, so you could take Bing out if you want to. Don't take out Microsoft Defender antivirus, even if you were like, well, I'm going to download another antivirus. No, keep this in. Windows antivirus is in the top 1% of efficient antiviruses if you have internet. It's the one of the, like when I say top 1%, it's like one of the top 1% performers. Microsoft News. No, thank you, sir. Photos, if you don't like their photo app, I don't particularly like or dislike it, but it takes no fucking space, so Some people use it, I've noticed. Sticky notes, I love sticky notes. I will keep that in. Again, this is one you can remove if you don't want to. Teams, I typically take that out. Microsoft To Do, if you want it, you can keep it in. I will typically take that out. Video extension again, encoder, no, don't want that. MSN weather. I normally take this out now, but if I make this for a corporate settings, I will leave in Teams and I will leave in MSN weather, because a lot of 3-letter word people love using that. I don't know why, but they do. I have installed Windows and they're like, where's my Teams and where's my weather? But if I'm installing or going to do that in the future, I will just install the proposed install. Outlook for Windows, again, I used to take that away, but a lot of people came back, where's Outlook, where's Outlook, where's Outlook, where's Outlook? I myself use Outlook. It's actually a really good all-in-one mail app. But if you know you're not going to use Outlook, you can safely take that away also. Paint. I'm known to do some paints and videos and stuff like that, so leave that in, but if you don't want to, take that out. Phone link. It's up to you, but a lot of people are starting to link their phones. Power Automate. Again, if you're using it in a corporate setting, leave it in. If it's just for you, boink. Quick Assist, leave that in for the most part. Raw image extension, leave it in. Snipping tool, so like you want to take screenshots and whatnot. Unless you know you're not going to use it ever, I never used it, and all the people that you installed it from are never going to use, you can take that away. But most people are going to use it. One that I will say for most people take away is solitaire and casual games. I, however, do play solitaire once in a while. I don't know if that makes me an old boy or what, but Outlook app search and viewing threads are not great. That's why you take out the Copilot. I will get into that later on. But it is something that a lot of people, they love Outlook. So solitaire, I keep it in, but most of the time, you know. This one here, it seems like you can't take away the start experience inbox. So all the blue ones seems like they're essential, I guess. Store experience source for the Microsoft Store. Need that web media extension. You want to watch shit on the web. Windows application capability enhancement if you're only on older software. Calculator, who want to take that out? Camera, don't take that out. It can fuck up your if you want to put in a webcam. Clock, I don't know why you would take that out, but you can if you want to. Windows Copilot, Windows Future Extension Pack. So let's see what's in here. Inbox app, and this is the one we can't take out because it's relying on something that's relying on something. Again, there are ways of limiting this later on, so it's not as intrusive. Windows Media Player, if you want, like I said, you can then in the post setup install VLC and you can take out Video Player. And again, if you have your own corporate mail app and that's getting installed post-install or post-login, you can uninstall Outlook if you want to. Sound Recorder, it's one of those small little programs that, yeah, they're there, but it takes no space. Just leave it in, it does nothing. Windows Store, we need that, we can't get out of it. It's what drives WinGet in the back end. Terminal, leave that in. Web extension, leave that in. Apple, leave in. And here's the Xbox stuff that a lot of people takes out. If you are a gamer, don't do that. I know it's irritating. I know it takes up resources in the back end, but more and more companies are piping into Xbox app and Xbox parts in the back end because it does make some games run better and smooth on Windows. So that's 7 changes that I typically do in apps. Drivers, you need the Pro version to like fuck around in here, but I will typically, for 99% of people, don't fuck around in drivers. Hardware support is kind of the same thing. Don't fuck around, and you can see also most of them you can't take out. Like floppy disks. I don't think there's anyone using floppy disks anymore, but at least on the consumer side. But again, this is a place where I will not fuck around if I don't know exactly what I'm doing. ISO images, don't fuck around in here if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Localizations, you could, if you know that you are never going to support other languages. take them out just for saving space. But I will typically just leave them in, because Windows, when it installs, are really good at only install the languages it needs, is what I'm looking for. But you can, like, if you don't ever think you're going to do Portuguese or something like that, you could take it out. Multimedia. Yeah, wallpaper default, we can check. I'll just leave that in. You have some more Xbox stuff here. Again, if you're a gamer, it will fuck up your gaming experience, or can. Networking, again, unless you know Windows to the same degree that you know you left toe, you don't fuck around in here. Roaming and privacy. This is where we can do a little bit of tweaking. But it's also where we can royally fuck shit up. And again, if you have the paid version, I think a lot of these blue ones we can also fuck around with. Let's see, which is the one... So, kernel debugging. I like it because it tells you what the fuck is going on, but you could take it away if you don't want to. Remote assistance. If you could technically take these out, but I just disable remote desktop when I go into Windows anyway. So actually, there's nothing in here that I fuck around too much with. System apps. This is also where we can go in and get really, really creative. Let's see, what do we have here? Add folder suggestions dialog. A lot of this is like things you think, why do I need this? And I've never heard about it, but it's actually somewhat important that you keep it in, because it's a lot of things in computing is like one thing because it's old, rely on another thing that's a little bit newer that will not, you know. So unless, again, you know kind of what you're doing here, don't fuck around too much in here. I'm just looking if there's anything like email accounts. You can take away this so they can't use email. Eye control, if you happen to install it on someone that's impaired, you know. Narrate, again, if you happens to install it on someone that don't see that well, and it's not installing it onto the system unless you tell it to anyway. It just enables the capability of you to do so. Barcode preview, again, it only installs it if you need it, but at least OOBE, out of the box experience, is super important. Don't leave that on. I did a really boo-boo thing one time. I took out Windows Hello setup, and well, that basically means you can use biometrics, so facial recognition and thumbprint, and then you have to go in and enable that feature in Windows. And again, it will only install it if the computer needs it when you're installing it. And this is another thing where, again, a lot of people uninstall and they don't understand why their games don't work that well. Xbox game UI, like I said, a lot of companies are piping their tweaks and whatnot into Gamebox, so you on the fly can change stuff. So, yeah. Now we are in System. Application virtualization, so have that in. Device lockdown, self-explanatory. Hyper-V, keep that in. User experience virtualization, webcam experience, yeah. Actually, there's not that much in here, change. I think it's in features and settings and unintended, you can move a lot of the telemetry. Here you can go in and do schedule tasks. So this is like cron jobs in Linux. There are system defaults and system add-ons, and when you install a program, it sometimes will make its own schedule task. I built my own telemetry tool at one point, because I was little story time. So I suspected people were lying to me about what they were doing with their computer, and blaming me for them not doing what I was telling them to do. So I made a program that basically told me when they last logged out and when they last shut down the computer, and the last time they opened and closed a software. Because they will come into us and say, oh, we can't, there's bugs in the software. And like, well, you have to close it down every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Do you do that? Yes. And we know they didn't do it, because I will see the main dev guy starting to upgrade, and I could see like half of the computers still had the program open, and he had to run in and close them down. And also, they will leave the computers running for months at the time, with 10,000 pending Windows updates, and he couldn't understand why stuff stopped to be slow and stuff started to not work that well. It's because with Windows, you have to reboot at least once a month. That's a good practice. Just reboot once a month as a home user gamer to make sure you're running the latest updates, the latest config files, and all, the temp folders and stuff like that are cleared out and running in an optimal way. It's the same with Linux. Linux can run forever and ever and ever if you set up like that, if it's on a server and stuff like that. But for a home desktop user, reboot at least once a month, because it matters, because you are installing and uninstalling a lot of programs. You are tweaking a lot of stuff when your system. It's forever evolving. If it's all you're going to do is serving virtual folders to the network, where that's what you set it up to do, and do nothing than that, you can leave it on forever and ever and ever and ever. Ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Because you set it up once and you don't have to fuck around with it anymore. But when you go in and you tweak your system all the time, you change settings all the time, it's a good idea to at least once a month reboot. In a corporate setting, I recommend once a week. So we would tell the departments every Friday when you go home, shut down your computer. And they will have notes on the desk that remember to shut down Friday at 4 o'clock when we go home and stuff. And they would say, yes, of course we do it. And I made this telemetry program that tracked those things, and lo and behold, only let's say 20% of everyone did it. So I could go in and say, well, I don't know who was at this computer, but nobody have done this week. Nobody have done this month. Nobody have done this 2 months. And I will show it to the manager. And the manager would be like, well, I tell them to do it, but they don't do it. I'm like, well, that's not my problem. That's a manager problem. That's you not managing your people correctly if they don't do what you tell them to do. But they want us then to, well, can you just automatically shut it down, stuff like that? Well, we can, but we don't know if they are starting to do some work, and if you just force quit their programs, they lose work. Because we did that at one point, and they got really angry. Because they're like, well, then we do it, and but we lose work. Then I just lost 30 minutes of work because it's hard reset. Well, your manager told us to do so. So then they got a warning that in 30 minutes or 10 minutes, this will shut down, save your work and stuff like that. So I had to make telemetry because people were lying to me. The managers were lying to us, saying, yes, we are doing it. And this is how telemetry starts, people. It's people are not honest. Managers are not honest. So we need to make sure as supporters, developers, that things are actually being done. In the beginning, it's logging, but then you need to access the computer to see the logs. So the telemetry we did was logging. It was logging telemetry. So it logged what was happening and sent it to a server. An internal local server. And all it did was, when was this last program closed and started? When was this computer last rebooted? That was the only 2 things we did. And we found out that there were computers running with security risk for months. Where everyone is like, yeah, we shut it down and whatnot. So that's what you would do in a scheduled task here. You can set that up. And again, think if you're a Linux person, corny jobs. Features, let's go into features. I need to have something to drink, so think about, talk amongst yourself. And I would say in here that this is also where, everything we do here, you need to know what you're doing, because you can really fuck things up. But the features on demand capabilities, there's a lot in here. Network drivers, you can take out. Again, I typically don't fuck around with anything. And you could take Samba out if you want to. I don't know why, but you could. Qualcomm support if you want to, but yeah, I would just leave that in here. .NET frameworks, leave that in here. Active Directory lightweight dictionary service, if you want that. Container services, let's say you're setting up something for a container host, something like that, do that. Containers, data center bindings, device lockdown, if you need that. Hyper-V, let's say you are running Windows Professional and you use Hyper-V as your virtualizer instead of VirtualBox or VMware, what they're called, and stuff like that. You could do that here. But, yeah, I typically don't fuck around much. And let's see if there's anything here I would fuck around with. Let me put it this way. In this section here, if there's anything that should be turned on, you know you need it to be turned on. Recall. Do I need to say more? That's luckily unticked. Let's say you know you're working with Telnet. You can pump that up, baby. If you're doing sandboxing for development purposes, if this was a if this was a development computer and the devs was doing a lot of sandboxing, I would turn that on. Windows search, again, a lot of people use it. Indexing and stuff like that. Work folder client, it seems like I would just keep anything in here. Settings. Oh boy. We can do a lot of stuff in here. Also, I feel like there's missing something here. Yeah. Don't show this in the future. Because there used to be one called Windows, app experience, and then also one called Copilot, specifically Copilot. Oh, you can enable sudo if you want to. But I don't know if it's in here. It's coming later. It may be coming later. I just feel like it should already have been coming up. Features, is it in here? At the end, I will do like a quick overview on everything again, because it just seems like there's something missing out. Are we in settings? We're in settings. Maybe it's in here. Crash control, we can do... Oh, I think it's in here, yeah. They also changed this UI from... last time I used it was like 8 months ago, so they moved stuff around, changed it, and it's a little bit new to me to some degree. Crash control, I will leave up. Desktop. You can take out desktop. If you don't want a control panel, or if you want a control panel on your desktop, you can even do Windows default or say, yes, please give me this, or no, not at all. There is some... You can even change the logout time, foreground logout time, notifications, and how that should behave, or should be the... quiet hours, focus assistant. Here. So start layout. This is one that I like to change to more pins. Teams install, I will plug that off. And that's about it on desktop. I think that's about it. Yup. Explore. So the file explorer, you can swing your dick around in here and go nuts. You can disable autoplay if you want to. You can disable CD burning features or just keep it at default. You can do control panel, classic view, small icons, hide folder, manage conflicts, keep history with recent. So I typically for myself take away like history a lot of the time because it's just irritating. Keep history of recent documents open. That one I would typically take off, but I know a lot of people like using that. Navigation panel, open File Explorer 2, preview pane if you don't want that, quick access, recycle pane display, delete the confirmation box. So if you don't want, like I sure want to delete that, you can take this off. I am skimming a little bit over this one because this is super personal and preferences and situational. Show device drive letters. If you don't want that, you can take that off. Show files from office.com. I would typically take that off, but a lot of people use that. The same with show maps and Discord. That's a good one. View empty drives. You can show that if you want to. Yeah, that seems to be the things that I would tweak in here. Explore. Oh, that's the one we've just been in. Microsoft Depend. This one. Leave it alone. Network. In here, unless you know for some specific reason, if there's anything you should be doing in here, you know that you should be doing it in here already, because you're already doing it before you see this video. Power control, if you want to enable, disable fast, boot up, hibernate. You can also, let's say I sometimes don't like, I think it's sleep that sometimes fuck Windows up. So if people have had problems with their computer not working after sleep, I will typically just disable that for them. Because Windows and sleep is a little bit iffy. So sleep and hibernation. Sleep keeps most of your computer running in a low state. Hibernation shuts almost anything off, but just have enough of memory running that it knows where you left off. So hibernation, I could be missing those two around, but I think one of them, I can't remember which one now, but one of them is like almost the same as a shutdown, and the other one is just like take off essential services, or take off anything that's not essential, basically. But for most people, I would not be fucking around in here. Privacy, this is the one that I was looking for. This is where this Copilot and all that shit should come in. And this is also where you can go in and go super nuts. Allow app access. Most of this, let's see what they have here, but most of it is allow app access. I will not fuck around with unless you are 1000% sure you're never going to install an app that are never going to use that feature. Because if you disable it, it will not even tell you that, oh, this want access to this, do you want to grant access? It will just say we can't give you access to it. And if you don't know why, and you don't know, you then have to go into Windows features and settings and all that shit, you don't know how to turn it on again. Because you disabled it in here. So appointments, call history. Why would I was like, why do I ever want call history? But you never know. This one is a really dangerous one. Camera, if you're using a webcam, OBS want access to your webcam. Contacts, if you're not, this is one. So appointments, call history, and contacts you technically could turn off. Diagnostic information, again, I as long as it's diagnostic information, meaning if it crashes, what happened with the app and stuff, I don't mind that. Documents library, email, file system, so you can basically make it so no app or most apps will not have access to the file system by default. Messages, this one you could take off. Microphone, Windows used to, after each update, disable all microphone or all apps from using the microphone. So every time you did a Windows update for like a year or so, you had to go in and tell this specific application to then allow microphone access again. Notification, phone calls, picture library, radios, share and sync, talks, user account information. This is one you... But again, you could turn it off. But there are programs that just won't work. I'm sad to say it, but there are programs that just won't work if you do this. Allow experience improvement. So this is for NVIDIA drivers, so it must know for some reason, I don't know. Because I don't have NVIDIA on this one here. Allow experimentation. Allow localization services. So when you go on your web browser, it's sometimes, oh, this website wants to access your local address to say what stores are close to you. If you disable this, it could have problems with it. Allow telemetry. This is where you can go in, and what I do security disable as a policy. Autocorrect misspell words. God knows I need that. Automatically installs sponsored apps. This is what I was talking about. This is what has been moved around. No. So Candy Crush, those things. Automatically contact to hotspots temporarily to see if paid network services are available. That automatically connect to suggested open hotspots. Yeah. Automatically install suggested apps. No. Clipboard history. Self-explanatory. Cloud optimization content. Self-explanatory, so explanatory in my opinion. Collect application inventory. That's not too bad. Collect context to let Microsoft and Cortana work better to understand you. No. Collect type text to let... no. Collect written text. So in my... This is what you may want to take off, like collect written text. But I use a drawing tablet and stuff like that, and I sometimes write on it. So it actually helps. Display last username and login screen. Display logged usernames in login screen. Display recent search entries in File Explorer search box. If you are searching really weird stuff, I will take this off. And if you're running a computer, if your computer is like, if you're working for the DoD and stuff like that, or DOW, or Department of War, as it's called now, and governments, places like that, I would probably take this off. Enforce decom hardening changes, feedback frequency, highlight misspelling words, let apps on users' other devices open apps and let apps run in the background. You need that for some instances. Let's see. Let apps use either Bluetooth. You need that. Let app users. Oh, so here, let apps use user advertisement ID for experience across apps. It's just so you get the same ads on your fucking devices. Let Microsoft provide a more tailored experience relative and recommendations by using diagnostics and get away. Let Skype, if installed. Some people still use Skype, so sadly leave this on. Let websites provide locally relevant content by accessing user language list. I don't see anything hurting in this one, so I typically leave that on. Let Windows call my activities from this computer timeline. You can take that off if you don't want to, just notice that one. Let Windows track app launch to improve starts and search. So it will pre-open some apps if you do this and stuff like this. Actually helps. This actually helps. Occasionally show suggestions in start. No. Get that out of here. You get here, there's a lot of shit we can do here. Online speech recognition services. Personalized use, speech type, and blah blah blah. Pre-installed apps. You can take that one if you want. I typically just leave that a default. Pre-installed OEM apps. So that is like, if you do something post and pre and blah blah blah, can go in and impact this. I typically also just have that there, but it depends. I haven't noticed much. So pre-installed apps is just like your your Teams. If you haven't disabled that, otherwise it will be here. Remove registry logs of packages install location. Search allow cloud search. Most of this search I will include Bing web searches. Again, I don't mind Bing, but some people do, and you can disable this. There should be one about OneDrive at one point also. Oh, search history on this device. If you don't want it to be there, you can do that. Send Microsoft information about how I write to help us improve. Again, I do that sometimes. You may not want this one. Shared experience, shellbacks. Yeah, show frequent use ID, quick access. Show me notifications in the settings app. Show me suspicious content in the settings app. Show recently used files in quick access. I typically don't have that one, but you could do that if you want to. Show recommended files in start. Recent files in File Explorer and items to jump list. Sometimes that helps people get to their work faster. I just don't like it because it looks cluttered. Suggest ways I can finish setting up my device. I disabled this one and it fucking broke Windows, so I would leave that on. Smart screen, leave that on. Typing inside, leave that on. Hotspot, leave on. What is this? Use page, leave on. Use, leave on. These are the ones you should turn off, okay? Windows Copilot, get the fuck out of here. Windows Copilot plus recall, get the fuck out of here. Windows Spotlight tips and suggestions, get the fuck out of here. Now, Copilot recall will not get installed unless you specifically tells it to do it, even doing an update. This is the beauty of this. So that's privacy. The start menu, you can go in here and you can view mode, category, quit, list. I like list. App lists, most used apps. I typically don't do those. Recent apps added, I don't like those. You can disable and enable something you want here, hibernate here. Show most used apps. Again, a lot of stuff here I won't fuck around too much with. Then we have system. Let's see if there's anything. You can disable and enable disk quotas in here. Bootster, startup latency. BitLocker, you can disable that if you really want to. Automatically activation, I will keep that on. But you could turn it off if you want to. Fast user switch default. Microsoft account. I see people turn this off, but there are a lot of people that use Microsoft accounts, so I will keep it on. We will, later on, it will do so you don't need it under the install. OneDrive, if you know for 100% certainty you're never going to use it, and other people that you're installing this version of Windows for are never going to use it, you can disable that one. Plum security was announced, yeah. Ready boost, yeah. Remote desktop. With my respect, that AI is good in Windows. It's not. If you care about your data, if you know how AI works and what they're doing with it, it is no. So this is like where it gets really funny. Require Windows Hello sign in for Microsoft accounts. So a lot of times when you set up a Microsoft account, it will say, oh, you need a PIN or you need a face recognition. You can turn that off. Reserve storage, set up. So this is another one. This is, like I said, I installed Windows 11 on 15 years old computers, and people are like, oh, it can't be done. This is why it can't be done. Setup requirement, RAM. Remove the RAM restrictions. So now it don't give a fuck how many you can install on 1 gig of RAM. Disable TPM and secure boot requirement. It don't give a fuck. Nobody know how all of it works. So by you saying that, you already disproving yourself. Nobody knows how all of it works. And most people, unless you are working for OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, in that specific project, don't even know much about what it's doing and why it's doing it. That's the problem. It's the amount stupid statement of knowledge. There are people with 30 years of experience, 50 years of experience talking about how bad AI is for almost anything that it does, besides rewriting text and giving you better search results and stuff like that. But to do real work, congrats. Look into cognitive depth, tech depth, and yeah. Anyway, storage sense, leave that on. So here we can, well, you can go in and if you really want to, you can tweak where the user's temp files are located. Let's see, is there anything you can disable by variable refresh rate if you or enable it, force enabling. You can fuck around with the cache size, Windows install path cache size. Page file, if you really want to go nuts, you can go nuts there. So we did system, we do taskbar. I do a little bit here. So You can actually do so. You can't pin apps to the taskbar. So search and taskbar, I typically just do icon, blob. And alignment, I used to do it left, but chats, I disable that one. And I disable the widget. So the widget is the weather app, but if you remember previously, back in the beginning, we disabled a lot of the news features and weather features, which the widget use, so it will be there and do nothing. Okay, so you don't understand it. You know what it does, but you don't understand it. Okay, I got you. This is the 5-year-old explanation of what AI is and if it's good or bad and stuff like that. That just means that you don't care about your privacy, is what you're telling me, which is fine. If you don't care about it, your privacy, yeah, go nuts. But that's not the biggest problem with AI. Task, schedule, keep that. Don't fuck around with this unless you know what you're doing. Don't fuck around with user control unless you know what you're doing. Windows updates, don't fuck around. I know a lot of people go in here and fuck around. Don't fuck around in here unless you exactly know 1000% what it does on a PhD degree level. Okay, that's it. Visuals, you can go in here and you can set up default colors. Accent colors for your install. Dark mode for apps if you wanted to force that. Dark mode for Windows if you want to reinforce that. Show accent color, like what accent colors you show them in, whether it's, tight. You can set up, this is like, after first install, how Windows look. And you can go in here and you can tweak the animations if you want to disable them. You can disable enable peaks if you want to. Normally I just keep this as default, because a lot of people just want default Windows look anyway. This is what I keep telling all my Linux friends, that, but I can customize the desktop till my penis falls off, and I feel really, really important. Yeah, the customization 99% of people do is like, let's find a pretty girl on Google Images and put that on as the background, and that's it. And they don't sit and fuck around with icons and whatnot. They really don't do that. So a lot of these visuals I just tend to just keep as is. Pointer options, sometimes I love to fuck around with a pointer. You can do delay times, pointer speed if you want to fuck around with that. Others, tab style, desktop icon size. I typically have them as small or medium, but, well, display the lock screen, first login, gradient, menu. Again, this is like, yeah. It's not about your data. This is not a conversation for this time and place. But yeah, it's not about your data. That's the least problem with AI. Services. So if you go if you right-click taskbar services, you can see which one here you want to auto-enable, disable. I typically just leave them as default. If there's anything I need to disable, I will do that later on when I'm running Windows. Again, extra services, leave default. Events, leave default. But you can go in here and you can take away the checker for drawing tablets if you know you're never, ever, ever going to use drawing tablets. So now we're going into unattended, and what did I miss? Standard internet comments. So here, before we can go in here, this is what happens when you come in with a comment midway into a section when you have not listened from the beginning. So I will do you a favor because you are a unique little snowflake. I addressed this like 1 hour and 20 minutes ago. And yes, it gives you better performance if you know what to do. This is, again, I'm doing this because you're a unique little snowflake. This way, you get the best of both worlds. You get less bloat, a little bit better performances, and nothing breaks. So you're not getting super privacy, and you're not getting super deep bloatness. Again, as I explained an hour 20 minutes ago, this is meant as you want to take out the unnecessary shit Microsoft put into their ISO that 99% of people don't use. That are meant for big corporations, specific use cases, blah blah blah. You saw the benchmark. I'm not talking out of nothing. Yeah, I've done this for like 5 years now. So I have 5 years of real user experience where I know it won't break. I know it will give you a more streamlined version of Windows that gives you less problems. And the performances, I will probably agree with you that you don't see much performance benefits or not. But you do get less things you have to deal with. You do get a Windows that's not in your face but works for you. And you don't get a lot of stuff you don't need. And you get a little bit more privacy. A little bit. A little bit. Like I said, with Windows 11, I've done this since the day it came out. So I just don't look at benchmarks and say, oh, that determines everything. Or look at a video that some YouTube do and say, that determines everything. I test the stuff in real life for myself. I've done this for people in the corporate world, okay? And no complaints. My ISOs are running in businesses right now. So I know a little bit about this. Just a little bit. But again, sorry, I didn't see the benchmarks. But I don't care about the performance aspect of it that much. It's just RAM uses, CPU cycles, better user experience is what I care about. So again, to go in and do these, and this is, again, these in here that we're fucking around with right now, is to help a better user experience. So you have to enable this because they can go in and fuck things up. You don't know, you don't know what I'm removing because you've not been here when I removed most of the things. I have removed, when I added 6 updates, I removed 7 things and components, 7 programs, 7 apps that nobody uses. Okay? In settings, I have modified 21 defaults, which is nothing. And I removed Copilot, Recall, and that's it. And I take away some data collection tools. That's it. Is it really useful to send written data text to Microsoft when nobody is handwriting on their fucking Windows computer? That's meant for tablets and so on. And people with the wrong tablets, which is like under 1% of the desktop market, are using that. You have literally no idea what I'm doing here. And if you keep this up, you are like one fucking step away from getting lame or spam hammer up your ass. I'm just saying it. So where are we? I was also here, just so you know, I'm going to make it so you don't need a fucking Microsoft account to install this ISO. Oh my god, it's a feature everyone wants and it's useless, I should never do it. Oh. Windows localizations, there could be a reason why you want to have your UI localized in specific language if you're only installing Portuguese or Spanish computers, but I typically leave that alone. Time zone. I won't even use my Lamar 2 loop, no. Time zone, again, if you know this ISO is only going to be used in a certain time zone, you can do that. OEM information, so you can go in here and you can customize the OEM information. So logo, you can implement that. You can have a link to support. This is not a script. This is a Windows ISO. So you take the ISO and you install it like you do any other Windows install that just have all of these things built. This is how Microsoft wants you to do it. This is a tool set Microsoft gives you on the Azure platform that are in a script file when you're installing Windows. But some smart people have just done it so you can do it in an ISO form, so you don't have to run it via Azure, which you would know if you know what you were talking about. This is not a script. This is Microsoft that have given us these tools, but mostly just for via Azure to deploy mass installs of Windows. This has been a feature for Windows since day one almost. Someone has just taken what you can do with a script that you have with your ISO into a program that makes it like, Lamer, just ban this sucker. He's been doing problems before. You know what? I've not banned anyone in forever. I want to ban them. Let's see who's quicker, me or... How the fuck do you ban people? Oh, it's hide. There you go. This is not... this person come in many times before and make these like weird ass, like know-it-all accusations. They have no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, the ON information, if you like support URL, if you want people to, in settings you get like a logo and stuff like that. Typically, just leave that alone. This is the fun part. This is where you don't need to get pestered about the Windows and account setup and stuff like that. So don't disable or just leave this alone. Skip EULA. I have done that and that fucked it up. Just leave this as default with the skip local account. Leave that as default. Skip online account setup, Microsoft account. So that means that when you install this ISO, when you get to like the account creation site, it will just say make a local account. That's it. And then when you have installed it, if you want to use a Microsoft account, you just go into settings and then you add your Microsoft account in there. But this just make it so you don't have to do the whole go into the command line and type this fucking weird ass shit in. Skip wireless setup there. This here, skip the last 3 here. I have disabled those before and they fucked up the Windows install, so I will leave them in. You can give the computer a default computer name. Product key, if you have a product key, you can put that in here. Organization, registered owner. Let's see, what else do we have here? That's about it, man. That's about it. So what I typically like to do is I like to just go over everything again. Do I have all the latest Windows updates installed on this ISO? Yes, so that means when I install this ISO, I don't have to wait for a shit ton of Windows updates. There will be some, but not a lot. Is there any drivers? So I had a series of Lenovo laptops I'm installing on, I think it was 5. They needed a specific Ethernet driver. So I actually made an ISO where I installed that Ethernet driver. Registries have been post-installed. Do you have any programs you want to install before the login or after the login for a user? Can be really helpful in corporate settings and stuff like that if you have like Lamer's doing. Well, I haven't banned anyone in forever, so I kind of felt good about it. Message restricted. Are they deleting their own messages? By the way, because this is how YouTube is. Even though you hide them, they can still watch your shit and they can still comment on your shit. I'm making a video out of this. You are forever going to be saved in history as don't know what the fuck is going on, but have an opinion anyway. So, again, in a corporate setting, you can do this again. Typically, a system admin will be doing this via Azure, that then deploy Windows on a massive scale and whatnot. Or a system admin will be doing this in their office for corporate computers and whatnot. So they have an ISO. Lehman is doing that right now. He got an ISO from his boss that they are using where he works. This is what this tool is meant to help make more streamlined. Because you typically would do that with config files and do it manually. This here just makes it more streamlined and more accessible, if you can say that. You don't need to do a lot of extra work to do it. It just helps you keep track of what you're doing, keep profiles so you can redo it over and over again, and you can have different setups for different laptops. Like I said in the beginning, you can have a setup for Dell laptops of a certain serial number. You can have setups for a certain Lenovo series that you're installing a lot of, and make ISOs depending on those. And again, as I said in the beginning, I do this every year to 6 months, mostly just to have the latest updates, so I don't have to sit and wait for 5 different computers downloading the same updates. That's not how it's done mostly in the corporate world. Mostly Windows updates is done via a local server that download it once and then deploy it to them. But if you don't do it that way, you have Active Directory and all those things, or Azure Directory as they call right now, or Azure Active Directory, whatever the fuck they're calling it. This is for small, medium to small businesses or hobbyists. And I used to install VLC. So any program that allows you to install unattended, you can put in here either before or after. You can also put in commands or scripts. So if you want to, like I said, after someone log in the first time, it automatically make a user folder on a NAS. You can set that up here. So it does that. This is the intention with this program. This is not meant as a let's deploy Windows. No, this is meant for I am installing Windows on a lot of identical devices for a lot of identical use cases. So I make one ISO that has everything I need, all the drivers, as much software as possible, as much tweaking as possible. So I don't have to sit and enable or download the same software 10 times, 50 times. I don't have to set up the same user requirement 10 to 15 times. I can just use this ISO, install it, and it's set up for a new customer, it's set up for a new employee, and I can reproduce this over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And there are some businesses that don't allow Copilot, that don't allow telemetry. Heck, there's some of them that don't even allow Windows updates to be enabled because they do it internally. And that's what this is for. It's for specific policies within businesses where a standard ISO would not cut it. Or it would mean that if you're installing Windows the standard way, for each computer you have to spend hours and hours and hours. So let's say you install a new computer, Windows on a new computer, and then you spend 2 or 3 hours setting it up. You don't have to do that if you make this ISO here. That's what this is meant for. So you don't have to sit and spend 2 or 3 hours per computer setting it up. Do this, download the same software, set up the same policies, all of these things, which previous deleted user would understand if they know what we are on about here. This is not a deep loading stuff. This is a customization ISO. If you want to deep load Windows, go and use all the scripts. This is not what this is for. Can you do it here? Yes. But this is meant for people like me or you that may have specific requirements for Windows or don't want certain aspects of Windows. And every time you install Windows, you disable those things. Use this program. Or if you have specific software that you always use, no matter how many times you install Windows, use this program to have that software be pre-installed when you install Windows. Or if you have certain hardware, let's say all your computers have this unique little specific hardware that you use on all your computers that requires a specific driver. Pre-install that driver on this ISO. That's what this tool is for. But there's so many people out there that don't, again, internet users don't know shit. When, like, I'm being a little bit antagonistic, but it's almost self-explanatory what this is for. And a lot of people say, well, what is this magic here? What is going on here? Why is this it? Like I said before, this is what admins do. Deploying Windows on hundreds and thousands of servers, computers, whatnot, via the cloud. So via Azure, or back in the day it was Active Directory, what the fuck it was called back in the day. They have a way they can do this in the cloud, and then they just deploy it. There's also a way, I can't remember exactly how you do it, because I've done it once, but you make like a config file that you then run the ISO against, that do the exact same thing. That is meant for the same reasons. But it's also a really good tool if you are a user, a hobbyist, or someone that knows people that are dissatisfied with a lot of things Windows is doing lately. They don't want these features. Not for speed improvement, but high setup. But they just don't want these features. This is a really good tool to download and then modify Windows. Let's say you know people that for 100,000% certainty never have used a Windows account. Disable it in here, and they have you can now install Windows for them without dealing with that shit easily. They never use OneDrive. You have like 10 friends that never ever use OneDrive. This is what this tool is for. You make an ISO, they don't have OneDrive on it, so you don't have to disable it later on. So I will come up with that in a second, because I'm explaining what I'm doing here before I'm done with this segment here. So just give me like 10-20 minutes. So think of this as I'm a system admin and I need a specific version of Windows with specific policies enabled, specific things taken out and stuff like that, or I'm installing Windows on the same hardware over and over and over and over and over again. No, it's fine interrupting. It's a live stream. I just want to finish because I'm also locally recording this. You know, I work in I resell computers, let's say, and we get 30, 40 of the same computer types in all the time. Set up one computer, make an ISO with all the drivers you need, all the Windows updates you need, and all that shit, so you then don't have to do that on all the 50 other computers. That's what this is for. Also, what you make with this, don't sell ISOs, don't give away ISOs, don't host ISOs on any sites, because all of that is illegal. You cannot take ISOs you make here or have ever made of Windows, resell it, give it away, but you can take it and use it on their computers if they use their registry key to activate it. But activating Windows, like I said in the beginning, there are ways of getting away with that or around that. I'm not going to talk about that. But this is not meant, you cannot sell and you cannot distribute these things. This is meant, again, I say it again, for professional internal use. This is a corporate Windows technology, basically, that we are utilizing privately. If that makes sense. This is a feature Windows have had probably since 95 or thereabout. That some smart people, I do repeat myself for the sake of clarity. You've always been able to do this, or almost always been able to do this. These people here that made this tool has just made it easier, more accessible. So hobbyists like me and you, or let's say resellers or small companies, can get this enjoyment or this Windows they want for their work or for their home. But then again, we've done all of these things here. All you have to do now is go down here to click apply. It will tell you what you're doing. What I will do is I will go in here and remove a distance you don't need. So I'll just click this one here. So it will keep Pro and AMD 64. So we'll keep all the other versions I will just remove. And that's just to slim down the ISO. And imaging format, keep that standard. Remember to take this click on ISO, and then you can give it a name where you want it, and I'll just call it whatever. I'm not going to do this. And then you basically just do proceed. And depending on your internet speed, your hardware power, this can take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour or whatever. It will prompt you once in a while because this is the free version, so every time it skips from some of these sections here, it will just, are you sure you want to continue? And they do that so you pay for it. So you can't just set it you can't set it to run and then just forget about it, because then there will be a pop-up box that say, we are now going to install updates. Are you sure you want to continue? And you have to click OK. So I'm not going to do this. I made one this morning. When you're done, this is the most important thing. When you are done, install it on a spare laptop that you have or in a virtual machine to see if it works. So install it and set it up as a normal Windows machine you normally would set up. And if everything works, keep it. But there will, especially if you're new to all of this, there will be some things you're already aggressive with. Like I said, I used to made one where it installed fine, but it did not allow me to create a user account. Then I made one that installed fine, but there was basically no desktop environment. So you need to be really careful what you're doing. But when you get your head around this tool, and you're only taking away stuff that you know for 100% certainty that is extra stuff that you don't need, that you normally take away in Windows anyway when you have installed it, you're just skipping a step and doing it here. So you don't have to do it for all continuous install that you do. And it saves you time because you could go in as often as you will, make a new ISO with the latest updates. So you don't have to sit and wait for Windows updates on all your computers to finish, because this from today will have all of the latest updates already installed. I don't have to sit and wait for the latest update to install. I hope this makes sense. This is kind of it. Now we're going into the Q&A, and so for the Q&A, and I will explain what you were saying in a bit. I need my drawing tablet, so I just need a little bit of setting up. I need to change, because I'm jacking in from my laptop right now. So just give me a second, and I will be... Oh, that's not what I want. There you go. So just give me like a second, because I'm just moving my laptop away. I hope this was helpful, by the way. And like I said, you can probably still hear... I moved my microphone, but I hope you can still hear me. I'm also recording this. And there will be, hopefully, a condensed version of this on YouTube at some point in the near future. Yeah, but I don't have like a professional setup, so it's a little bit circumstantial here. So just give me a moment. We have that one. We have that one. No, I don't want that. What did I do? Go over there. There. Oh, where is the, that's not what I want. I keep clicking the wrong fucking thing. There you go. We just had a debate with someone about that whole performance and shit. Oh. Click, 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 click. Clear canvas. Yup. God damn it! I need like a massive desk with. I have like computer, laptops, drawing tablets on a desk that's smaller than the IKEA thingy they do using nowadays, but it's also like 10 years old or something like that. Okay, so there you go. There you go, we are back. Okay, so do you have any Windows 11 ISO created for performances? I have dealt with it, I think you can call it. When I say dealt with, I mean I've made some. But it depends on what you mean by performances, because there's different performances. So there are app up and down time. There are CPU specific up and down performances. There are read write. And then there is RAM, slim. What else? And then there's just like first install time. So it depends on what you mean. So app up and down, so that would be animation speed, for example. So the apps feel like they're running faster, up and down, you know, opening up faster, closing up faster, which also can help a little bit with this down here. This can help a little bit with it. I've done that, but it was just a placebo effect. It didn't really... I do it sometimes, fuck around with the animation speed with Windows in general, because it makes it feel faster, which is not... So KDE, they did an update a few years ago, and everyone was like, the fastest update ever, it was amazing, and blah, 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 and all they did was decreasing the animation speed with like 10% or 15%. Nothing was done. It was not less resource, it was not using less resources, it was just animation speed. A lot of people perceive animation speed as faster. It is faster for the eyes. So I've done that with Windows, but... What the fuck is this music? Let me put it this way, you kind of get used to it. With Windows having slow animation. And after a while, you don't think about it. Honestly, you don't. I think this is like a Diablo soundtrack or something weird like that. Yeah, this is really weird. So, CPU, make that more efficient or not? There's not much you can do with Windows with that. The best you can do there is like remove some disable some services. Oh, sorry for my bad writing. And it's the same with RAM. You can disable and remove some services, and for CPU speed, it won't matter that much. Maybe idle CPU use, but it won't matter that, maybe 1 or 2%. Read-write, I have not done much with. if anything at all, and you can't barely do anything so well optimized to begin with. Slim down RAM users I've done a lot with. So again, it goes up with like disabling some services and stuff like that. But Windows, the way Windows use RAM is a little bit different. So it look at like free RAM, and it will preload apps into that you use a lot, so they start up faster. And I've seen people disabling it, and you noticing that your most used app don't run that fast anymore. But it also will mean that when you look at your RAM users, it will typically be a little bit under 50%. Microsoft is trying to do stuff right now from late last year and up till they will continue that also into K2, if that's even a thing, where they will optimize more for RAM on their end, because there's a lot of stuff in there that don't need to be in there. And that, again, the ISO that I was just making is to combat that a little bit, is to like, am I ever going to use a tablet like this? If no, why do I have that service running that take 1% CPU usage then? And here's the thing, Ubuntu have the same service running in the background. A lot of the Linux distributions have the same services running in backgrounds that they don't need, that impact upstart time, shutdown time, and app upstart time. Like when it does the running, it also impact how fast other apps open. Yeah, a lot of people use OneDrive. That's why I never take it out of my ISO. But I know also a lot of people that don't do that. So you could disable a lot of services to help, not with raw performances, but upstart time, shutdown time, and stuff like that. Mostly what my ISOs are focusing on is this here. This is why I make them mostly. It's so I don't have to spend so much time tweaking Windows when I install it. So I do them once every 6 months or once a year. And I do it to okay, so that is working. Anyway, I thought I had a bug in the program I made, but apparently no. Anyway, that tool I just showed, that's the primarily focus, or the main focus, is actually this here. It's first install time. How fast do we get from a computer that do nothing to and a user can start using it? So that means like, when I do those ISOs every 6 months to a year, it's okay. What is the biggest time sink? It's waiting for Windows updates. Let's make sure all of them already are installed on the ISO, so I don't have to wait for them when I install Windows. The other thing is like pre-install apps, tweaking Windows to my liking and other people's liking. So that's taking away stuff they don't need. If there is a business that has certain requirements, there are companies that say, like, we don't allow Outlook, we don't allow Xbox-related stuff on our ISOs or in our Windows installs. We don't allow Teams, or we don't allow Solitaire and stuff like that. So instead of me installing it on 5 computers, 50 computers, and then removing it on all 5 and 50 computers, I just make an ISO that don't have that in them. That's what these tools like NT Lite and there's others out there, and also the reason for why they allow to do this in the cloud to begin with, to mass deploy Windows. There is a lot of businesses that disable Windows Update, which a lot of people misunderstand. So let's see, why do people this is not what I want. Why do people disable Windows Update? Or why do pros do it. Because there's a lot of things professionals do that the hobbyist world have taken to... Like, if they do it, we must do it. But they do it for reasons that they don't understand, so therefore it makes no sense for hobbyists to do it. So... That's not how you spell Y. God damn it. I'm so stupid today. So why disable Windows updates? Well, you have to understand how a lot of infrastructure, or how the basic infrastructure may work in a business. Because a lot of hobbyists say, well, we don't need Windows updates. You do. Because that's how you get bug fixes, security fixes, day 1 day security fixes and stuff. If you don't use Windows updates, and you never get them, you are running the most unsecure Windows you can get your hands on. The same with Linux. If you don't update Linux, well, it's insecure. But what they really are doing is this. So we have a lot of computers here. This is old pizza boxes computers. They all have no Win updates. They talk to a server. That then, this is Earth, get the Win updates. So they have disabled Windows update, but they're not really disabled, but they disabled Windows updates from this way in. So this don't happen. Okay? But this happens. So the server or a machine, whatever, download the Windows updates from Microsoft, and then sometimes they will modify them or they will test them on 1 or 2 computers. Do they break anything? So we can have like a test computer here. Or 2 test computers. So it goes in here first. And if they say okay, then it gets deployed to all of these out here. And then they get the Windows updates. That also means that they are in control of when they're getting it, how they're getting it, and which one they are getting. Because just like with Linux, a lot of updates are just like, oh, we misspelled a word, or we misaligned, something is 1 pixel deformed or something like that. And there's no reason to stop a production cycle or line or jeopardize that while these computers is updating, stuff could go wrong. While these are updating, one of them could have like a bug or that makes it reboot. Or crash the system or program. So they want to be in control of when this is happening. Because they know these computers over here, they work. They know these works, as it is right now. We are now introducing a foreign object into this ecosystem. It can take over the ecosystem and infect it with Lamar loops instances all over the place, or it could do nothing. We don't know. So they like to test it sometimes first. And then every Friday at 5 o'clock, or every Friday, or every Saturday at noon, all of them get updated when nobody's doing anything with them. So that's what they really mean with, oh, the pro disable Windows updates. It's not like they're never getting Windows updates and then the developers are sitting in the back room and updating Windows by hand. No, it's just like they're using Azure as a way of downloading Windows updates, deploying them to the machines in a more controlled, tested manner. Where they are in control of when and how this is going to happen and why. So if you need I didn't read that, I'm sorry, but if you need a snappier version of Windows 11, that would probably be just tweaking the animation time. That's what snappiness. Snappiness means I click a button and when does something happen. And just look at Google how to change animation speed in Windows, and it will feel snappier. If it's because your CPU is running at 100% all the time, or you're utilizing 100% of your RAM or your GPU, then it's a hardware issue. There's not much you can do with Windows besides that. LamarTube is running HiGRU OS. Yeah. But that's basically what they mean when they say, oh, we disable Windows updates. Yes, it's disabled. But that's because they're getting the updates in a more controlled manner. It's not when Microsoft say that today you're getting this. And whatever line in the queue you are, because not everyone's getting the same update at the same time either. In this way, the IT department can say, every Saturday or Sunday or every third Sunday in the month, whatever the fuck it is, at this specific time, this specific department are getting this specific update that we have tested on a few computers. Or sometimes they don't even test it anyway and they just update it. That's what they really mean by disabling updates. But a lot of people, I see a lot of people like recommending making Windows more usable, disable Windows updates. That's what they do in the pro world. Yeah, but not really. You need Windows updates to fix your Windows. That's just like you need, the Windows package, not Windows, the Linux packaging system to make sure Linux is up to date. Or then you have to sit and download all the tarballs for yourself, compile the tarballs, and then just like we did with Slackware in the early 2000s, basically. Where you didn't have a package manager, you are the package manager. And then you have to find the right dependencies, download them for the right version, compile them, and make sure that they run and install and all that shit. That's not what they do. That's not even what most Linux users, they don't even know how to do that. But there is that's why, like, there is this massive, super massive divide, I think you will call it. Or maybe not even divide, but gap with misunderstanding between hobbyists and pro. So there's like this massive cliff. So the hobbyists, they look at what the pro are doing, but because they are not pros, they don't really know what the pros know. So they're like, okay, so you are doing that. I don't really know why you're doing and saying that, and you probably also are leaving out some information that you think I have. But what I hear you say is that I need to do this. So then the hobbyists are mimicking what the pros are doing, but not all of it. Because the pros don't tell them, well, the reason why we are doing this is because X, Y, and Z. Because they think, okay, if you ask me this question, you must already have a basic understanding of what we are doing. Because this is a question that people only would ask if they have the basic understanding. But a lot of people ask questions or come out with statements without actually understanding what they're saying or asking. And that's not a problem, but it leads into misunderstanding. Oh, I heard from someone that you do this. And a pro will say, yeah, we do that. But the hobbyist forgot to ask the other, or the other people that told the hobbyist that they should do it, did not tell them why. And the hobbyist didn't ask the pro, but the pro's like, well, you asked me this question, so you must understand why we're doing it. You just want to know if you did it. Are you sure that we're doing it? So they're just mimicking it. And I see a lot of tech problems that nerds and hobbyists are making for themselves. This is especially with Linux, by the way. But Windows, Linux, Mac, they do all of these things because, oh, we heard a professional is doing it, or this IT pro is doing it, so therefore we are doing it. But a lot of the time, they're only doing 50% of what they're doing because they're not getting all the context. Or they are not, they don't understand that the pros are doing this because they're also doing this thing every second Friday, for example. That makes what they're doing viable. So a lot of hobbyists are only running on like 50% knowledge. And you can see the danger here. Then if another hobbyist and another hobbyist is, this information is just being tripled down. So 50%, will end up maybe only being 30% of the knowledge at this end. And this is why it's super easy. So like the other person before, like I have no problem with AI and blah, 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 blah. And so there are certain terms and words that when people say, they don't know what they're talking about. But you only know it if you have experience on a professional level in that area. So if you can make statements about cars to your non-car friends and even your car hobbyist, that will make it seem like you know what you're talking about. But if you set that to a professional mechanic, just by saying that sentence, show that you don't really know much what you're talking about. You just know more than the average person. And that is like, I know everything that's going on with AI. If someone say they know everything about anything, they are wrong. It's humanly impossible to know everything about anything. Even professionals don't know everything about anything. They just know more than the hobbyist. And they have working experience, which the hobbyists don't. So the biggest difference between, like, let's make a crappy car here. The biggest difference between a hobbyist and a professional is that the professional went to school, which you can learn on your own. But the biggest difference is working experience. You can read as many books, you can watch as many YouTube videos, shorts, listen to as many people like me on the internet. It will still only get you about 20% there. You have to do things. You have to work. You have to do it. And that don't mean you have to work in a professional manner. Let's say said hobbyist open up a garage where he in the weekends fix cars. Then he will slowly, or she will slowly build up this working experience. But to get the same experience, let's say they do this 2 hours for 2 days. Well, that's 4 hours of experience a week. This person here work 8 hours. 7 days, what is that? 37 hours or something like that? Let's say 37 hours a week. You see how much harder the hobbyists have to, or longer the hobbyists have to work to get the same experience that a professional get in a week. That's the real difference here. Can a computer hobbyist in Linux learn the same as a system administrator in Linux? Yeah. But to get to the basic level will probably take 10 years. 10, 15 years. Because you have to work with it for as long as they do. What makes a professional good is that they have the theory. Theory can be easily obtained. But they also have the professional knowledge. They have the working knowledge. They learn by working with the subject and doing it. You learn stuff that is not taught in theory. You learn stuff you would only learn if you actually work with it. So at that point, it's an hour time. Some people are better and faster and smarter than others. So some hobbyists don't need 37 hours a week for 4 years to get to the same experience level. They only need 30 hours a week. But there is not much. The alpha omega here is working experience. And that is also the biggest difference between a lot of what's going on YouTube and all of these places. It's like, it's super easy to read a book, take a lecture, listen to some other people, make a YouTube channel, and regurgitate that. Versus do those things and then work with it, help people with it, do it in a professional manner or in a semi-professional manner, or do it for friends and families. Like, you can read a book about how to make a birdhouse. It's a really crappy birdhouse. How much wood, cutting angles, clue, no clue, specific type of wood, treatment, and all that shit. But there are still things you will not learn until you've done at least 5, 10, or 15, or 100 of them. And the more you do, the more you learn, the more efficient you become. You start to know where you can take shortcuts or the best approach. Let's say you want to make 20, how to do it faster. By, let's say, cut all the pieces into size to begin with, and then build them, for example. You easily learn when you need to change the tool or sharpen the tool to keep up the efficiency, and what tools are the best to use and whatnot. So not damaging the wood and make them look better. What treatments, chemicals to use that are best X, Y, and Z. Yes, you can read about it, but you don't really know, yeah, this is really good on paper, but let's say you get it on your fingers, you can't get it off, or you get it on your clothes, it's screwing, or it only lasts, like the shelf life of an open canister is half of what the other ones is. All of that you only learn from experience. Or 99% of it from experience. And what we see here on the internet, sadly enough, is a lot of theorists. Oh, I saw this YouTuber, I saw this, I read this, but I never done it. So you can either debate the theory of it or the reality. And theory only gets you to a certain degree. That's why, like, when you get like a development degree or engineering degree or any diploma whatsoever, you don't get it just by reading the theory. You have to go into apprenticeship a lot of times, where you spend more time working than you do in school in a lot of instances. So you get the theory, and then you spend typically the double that amount in real life working with it. Then you do some tests. Both do you understand the theory and do you understand the practical side. And then you get your diploma. If everything could be done with just theory, why do we need to go into these apprenticeships? Why are they so important? Why are they cutting down on the school time, aka theory, in a lot of fields, and amping up how much experience, aka apprenticeships time? Like Lehman right now is starting to become whatever he is starting to become. He still works. He still have to go out and do it in real life. He can't just sit in uni and just read the books and take the test. He can take the theory test, and if he's really good enough, he can also probably take the practical test. But most people need that working experience, because it's a lot of times more important than the theoretical experience. And that's why we have this massive gap here between pros and hobbyists. Because a lot of hobbyists, they spend more time reading and thinking about something than actually doing it. And then they go do it for 1 hour, and I know everything. I installed Arch Linux one time, I know everything. I've seen 1 YouTube video or 5 YouTube videos, I know everything. And then they will make a lot of stupid statements that the professionals catch, but the hobbyist and the novice don't catch. And that's the biggest danger here. That's why it's really easy to get trapped, where people look at you stupid because you're saying things that may not be stupid, and you don't know that you're coming at it in the wrong way, but it shows you lack of experience. it shows you lack of knowledge by just saying that thing, or doing that thing, or how you do that thing. There's so many times when I used to be a mechanic or repair guy where I did things, they were not wrong, but someone with 30 years of experience would come and say, you're making it harder for yourself. It's not wrong what you're doing, and it's somewhat what the textbook tells you to do. But if you do this in this order instead of that order, you save 30 minutes, and it's so much easier. And yes, you have to take a little bit more apart, but it's in the end still faster. And you get home earlier, you don't bitch and moan that much, you don't have to bend over backwards to do it. That's what experience gives you. If you just read the fucking instructions. Should I say this? Should I aggravate the American population? Learn as you go is experience. You need experience. I'm going to do it. I'm going to piss off my American friends, so bear with me here. I love watching Americans bitch and moan about IKEA furnitures. Because it tells a little bit about the culture of the humans, of the people. So for most people in Europe, it is irritating we have to build the shit ourselves, but it's not a big deal. Most humans, especially in Scandinavia, but I would say in Europe, would have no problem putting together IKEA furnitures. And then you see, again, hashtag not all, but you see a lot of Americans getting confused as just looking at a screwdriver. And can't understand the instructions. Because they're not laid out as if you were a 5-year-old. And that is because in Europe, especially in Scandinavia, we are grown up to fix things. There's this almost unspoken rule that if you break it, you fix it kind of mentality. Where in America and big countries, Japan, Korea, Australia to some degree, it's we buy it till it breaks and throw it away. They are more about let's learn about the theory of getting the best thing for what we need, and when it don't work anymore, we throw it away. Where over here we get the best thing we can get for the money, and let's see how long we can make it last, with us mending it when it breaks. And that's a little bit like the theorist versus the professional. If you, and I know that there are people in America that have the same kind of upbringing, but when you look at everything in a way that, if it breaks, we have to fix it. And again, there are Danish people, there are European people that can't fucking hold a screwdriver in their hands, okay? But for the most part, we understand, or we have been taught from childhood, that there's theory and practical experience. And we get both. It feels a lot like in America, it's all about the theory. Americans love to go to school. They love taking courses and all that shit. They don't really love doing stuff. And honestly, if you want to learn something, it's probably better to just do it and not read about it. Back before the internet was a massive thing, when we fucked things up or we broke shit, it was really hard to figure out how to fix it, so we just opened it up and saw what the fuck was happening inside. How does this thing work? And then yell and scream at each other for 5 hours to figure out who was the most right. So we kind of had practical first and theory second. And I think that's why a lot of Americans have a problem with IKEA furnitures. Because the instructions are bare bone, but they talk to people with the understanding that, one, you have common sense, you're not stupid, and you have a general knowledge about how things work, or can figure out how things work really easily. That goes one for me for, well, that's a long ass way away. Where if I talk to some Americans, it's almost like, well, let's have a talk about it first. Let's plan it out. Let's debate it. What theory this and planning this and again, this is just an observation. And again, it's not the fault of the populace. It's how the system you grow up in is. So in reality, it's a reflection of the system. I saw a video that they are. It's really trendy right now for Europeans to react to Americans going to Europe. So there was a girl. She was really frightened from going to England because she was like, "Do they speak English? I don't know what language I have to learn. Can they understand American?" And she was like crying. Going to England. There are people thinking that Europe don't have toilets. Don't have electricity. I don't know what's going on with America, but your education system is in need of a shake-up. Maybe that's what's happening with your privatized education. I don't know. But I just like, again, I know it's oversaturation, I know it's like 1 in 1,000, but it is funny to watch. And then also there are some videos with people that then have went to Europe and come back to America, and then they're just like speechless about the culture difference. I saw someone, and this was like, again, when I was a mechanic, you know, like I was talking to some mechanics from America, and they're like, "Oh, you fancy little European snobs." I don't know why he's French, but whatever. Driving around in your small, cute little cars. And I'm like, yeah, like, we kind of have to. Ah, bullshit, we can drive in big muscle cars. And then for some fucking reason, he went on a trip to whatever, I can't remember the country, and he came home and he's like, "So, those roads you have over there, yeah, they are really small. Yeah, they are also, like, really old. Like, they didn't get built, like, 50 years ago, or 80 years ago, or 100 years ago. Maybe 180 years ago. So that's why we can't have those big, massive fucking houses on wheels that you have over there. There's just not room. Like, take one American car, and that's all that can fit on a normal road here. Maybe on the motorway you can have a little bit more success." And then they're like, oh, now we get it. If you go to Japan, it's even worse. But it's just funny to watch like how they're like, but if we can do it, yeah, but the whole American infrastructure is built up around cars. In Europe, it was built up around horse carriages. You see the difference there? Like, a horse or a horse carriage versus, well, we have cars. Vroom, vroom. We have to travel thousands of miles to just get a fucking carton of milk. You know, and it's the same with, if you look at Asia, there's infrastructure. It's also like road infrastructure. It's built up around horses and horse carriages. Because that was the primarily driving mechanism for years and years and years. It didn't take long from America got started till horses and horse carriages was out of the fucking way. It was boom, 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 boom. But it's so easy to get caught up in your own experience. Again, this is why, like, there's this joke in development, but it works on my computer. You know, but that don't mean it works on everyone else. Or, like, I keep yelling at the Linux users and say, like, you're wrong. Yeah, but it works for me, my uncle, and my aunt, and my brother, and my household. And, like, yeah, your household, your aunt, your uncle, living in whatever place they're living in, with whatever experience, and have whatever requirements for their computer. It may work for them, but it may not work for my family or anyone else's family. It's a really... Why do my cars look like penises? It is a really interesting subject. Like, super interesting subject. Also, a lot of Americans think that America is older than the EU for some reason. I don't know why that is. Are they really that... are Americans so uncultured swines? They're not so sophisticated? I don't know. I used to... When I was a kid, my biggest dream was to move to America. And then the more I learned... And it's not the people. I love the country, like the nature of America. That there's so much diversity and stuff like that. And I love the people that live in the on the countryside, I think you would call it. The second you step into a major city, it just goes down fucking tits really fast. And the more I learn about American culture in those big cities and to some degree the politics of it, I just get put off more and more from it. I would love to move to America and live like in some 40,000 population town in whatever state. But you are so influenced of what's going on in the big cities that it's become unbearable, undoable nowadays. It was way easier like 15 years ago or something like that. You still can do that in Southeast Asia and South Asia. And East Asia. Maybe not Korea, but... Because Japan have kind of the same problem where there's, Tokyo, Osaka life, and then there's royal, I can't speak. Outskirt Japan, where it's a little bit laid back. It's more traditional and stuff like that. Not so much politics and whatnot. But they have like a massive depopulation problems in those areas where I feel like in the state is not that big of a problem. But there are also not that many people. Well, they are, but they tend to see me like people per square acre, what it's called, is bigger. So there's more room in the States than there are in Japan and the rest of the world. Per inhabitor. I just don't know what the fuck went wrong, man. What the fuck went wrong? Because I'm not... A lot of people say that America is the new Roman Empire. And I'm kind of following that logic. Because it's doing a lot of the things the Roman Empire did. And going down the same path that at the end made the Roman Empire fall. Because of the things that... The path that America is going down right now. Overreaching, too self-important, too self-indulgence, become more of a spectacle than a force of nature. Like it's more about the looks and spectacle of the states than the stability, military power that it used to be. They are electing leaders it's more about who can make the biggest public display, wow factor, than actually who is actually good. Versus back in the day, and it's the same thing that happened with Rome. It become more of not a popularity contest, but who could put on the biggest spectacle, basically. And with a little bit of killing each other behind the curtains and stuff like that, but at the end, before the Roman Empire, it was a lot like, it was like the political plays, who was the most popular, who could speak, who could put on the biggest show, and it's the same fucking road America's going down, sadly enough. Like, there are hope, of course, there's always hope, but I kind of like when the Roman Empire experts lay it out the way they do, it's almost like it's just like America speedrunning it, because the Roman Empire was like, I think it existed for almost 1,000 years, something like that. And like, it's a long ass time. America has only been America for like 200 or 300 years or something like that. It's really, really young. So they're like speedrunning it. But maybe that's the American way. Do everything faster and better than anyone else, even our own demise and disintegration. Don't let anyone tell us how to fucking ruin your society. We can do it faster than anyone else. I take all of this with a little bit of tongue in cheek and stuff like that, because that's what it is. But it is funny to be an outsider looking into how things are in America right now, because, like it or not, it dictates how the rest of the world function, just like with the Roman Empire, which is interesting. There was another thing I heard about. AI related. Oh yeah. There more and more companies are starting to rehire mid-level engineers again. Because first they figured out that their developers faked AI users because they got told to use as many tokens as possible, so they just used them on mindless shit. Because they have to. Or else management will yell at them. And so the AI users was just fictively being not imploded. The numbers were inflated, that's the word I was looking for. So yes, we are using so many tokens and we are using so much AI, but it's used to like check rewrite a email or something like that, or make a for loop, or like super simple shit. And then they figured out that AI is so bad at development that it can't even fix its own shit most of the time. And again, if you're doing a little hobby project at home to get a proof of concept, it's fine. But when we're talking millions lines of code projects and stuff like that, it starts to get really, really fucking... Even thousands of lines start to get really fucking... I remember I had one... I saw it in a live stream I was watching. And he was... he was like, well... They were talking about AI, and he was like, well, take it from someone that just got laid off because of AI. And he was like, he used one AI to build a app, or make an app because the management want him to. He used another AI to test it, and another AI to fix it. Then he fed the AI that fixed it the code, and the AI that fixed it then told it was still wrong and the code was bad. And then he told the AI to fix it again, and just become a loop of the AI, and then he tried another AI that then said, oh, this is how you do it, and they all just made changes, and then all said they were all wrong. And then he got fired. I don't think it was because of that, but he got so angry that I think he probably yelled too loud and got fired. And this is like happening so much that Amazon is hiring people back. It's so bad that people are also starting to hire developers because it's getting too expensive. Like, tokens are higher than humans in price. So it's more beneficial because they're not really saving much time doing AI they're finding out. So they are starting to rehire humans because tokens prices keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And now it's starting to become so expensive that it's cheaper, even if it's a little bit inefficient, to hire humans again. And they also found out, like I said, that AI hallucinating and so wrong that it's feeding on its own inconsistencies, that it's making a lot of slop, and nobody knows how to make that slop because they're hiring prompt engineers and not developers. So now they're firing prompt engineers and hiring developers. It's a funny, and this is like Amazon, Oracle, Meta have done it, where they have had to rehire humans because the AI could not fix itself. And it's just like, it's an interesting turnaround that a lot of people foreseen. A lot of, again, that's the difference between hobbyists and professionals. A lot of people in the professional world was saying this 2 years ago, that AI is great as a wow factor, it's great for a lot of entry-level shit, but it cannot replace humans in a lot of advanced fields. And they seem to be right. I've known and seen people that can't develop without AI, and that do use AI for development, and then when shit goes tits up, they don't know why it goes tits up, because it's so heavily AI used. They understand the language, but the AI is butchering it so much that there's so much unuseful shit in there. Or, it's probably useful, but it's structured in a way that it will take a week to untangle the mess. Which is why AI typically are really bad at building secure and scalable code. And then Anthropic's new mythos, or what it's called, should apparently be super good. But it's also super expensive. So for it to be better than a human and stuff like that, it's something like they're paying, was it tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of token for a project that a human could probably do for half the price in almost the same amount of time. Also, apparently Windows 12 is coming out this year, or getting announced this year. And a lot of skeptics say that it's going to be built around AI, which, again, I don't believe anything until it's on paper and in released or announced. So I don't believe anyone until it's like officially announced. And it goes for games, software, hardware, anything. All I can't use speculations for shit, for that's what they are. They're just speculations, and sometimes they are true and sometimes they are not. I don't. I will wait my judgment till it's out there. But I do think Windows have realized that forcing all this AI onto people may not work out in their best interest. That don't mean it cannot be an addition to the OS or unlock that you pay for or can integrate. It just means that they probably will also have a way where you don't have to use it if you don't want to. I saw a video where they were they were asking the AI how many E's there was in 17, and it always got it wrong, but it could spell the word 17 right. So it spelled it right, and then like, this is how you spell it, and there's only X amount of E's in it, and it was always wrong by at least one E. The same with strawberry. And that's the AI that we are putting billions of dollars of infrastructure into. Think about that. And I think, again, that's the biggest misunderstanding, you know, with AI, with the pros and the hobbyists and the people that, oh, this is going to make Feud this better than the industrial revolution, stuff like that. And that's because they don't really know what the fuck is going on. Because they don't see the problem with, it can't tell you how many E's there is in strawberries. Who gives a fuck? These people know why it's such a big problem that it don't know how many E's there is in strawberry. These don't, because, well, it did rewrite my essay. It did give me the correct answer to these things. It did make my hobby project work. Yeah. A blind squirrel finds nuts once in a while also. A half-blind squirrel finds more. But at some point, the big problem will explode. And the big problem is that they don't know how many E's there is in 17. That's it's those like small little things that most people don't, unless you're a professional, don't put much weight into. Because they don't understand the significance of that. That if an AI can't get that simple thing right, means that a lot of the things people are using AI for are even more simple. And they really are. Because understanding the how many E's there is in a word and what can spell it, just in context. You don't need much context to write a program. But you need a lot of context to write a enterprise level program. And that's why it fell short. Small businesses, hobbyists love AI because it makes them be able to do stuff professionals only could do before. But they also don't understand what the limitation of what they're using. That what they are doing is what is even more simple than knowing how many E's there are in 17 for a developer. Because when you think about it, they used to call them Stack Overflow engineers. Because you can go on to Stack Overflow and you can take snippets of code. Search the right things, of course, but then you can take those snippets of code and put them together and you have a functioning program. You never wrote a line of code. You just asked the right question, then took the snippets of code and put them together. That is all the AI is doing for you. It's going on, maybe not, but it's looking in the data and then taking snippets of code and putting them together. And you don't write anything. Which is not bad if you know what those snippets of codes do. And you can modify or change them if you need to. It's the same with an IDE. I despise IDEs for beginners. And I didn't use IDEs for 4 years or something like that. Because it made me feel so stupid. You can set up an IDE so it does nothing for you, but most people will fall into the trap of not doing that because it's easy and convenient. And then with all this auto-completion and help, you don't really learn much. So I was a big, Notepad ++ there for a long time. I did everything by hand for a long time. I think almost any Python code I have ever done until 3 years ago was done in an editor, not an IDE. For that reason. And now this has become AI. It's such an interesting, a really good example. My old boss was showing a colleague of mine a program he vibe coded. And then he had to showcase it and it didn't work. And he was like, but it worked this morning. I just showed it to someone else and it worked. And then did you... I fixed the thing in I can't remember he was using Claude or what he was using. But now it don't work. And he had no idea why it didn't work. And my colleague just looked at him and went out of the office laughing. And he was really angry because he didn't. And that's the difference between a hobbyist, a vibe coder, and a professional. A professional would use the tool, but also know why it didn't work and could fix it. Or figure out easily how to fix it. But it was so funny when he came into the office laughing. Like, you won't believe what the boss just did. It's just like, well, that I would believe because he's the type to do that. And then at the next corporate meeting, they were talking about how this like could revolutionize the company with the 2D man. It's just like, yeah, I remember a month ago when you refactor the code and it stopped working in 5 minutes, and that is going to save the company to some degree. Okay. And then they do all these like excuse, but it's not a production grade and it's a proof of concept, and yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that that's why we do proof of concept, so we know if it's viable. You just say it's viable because it worked one time. That's the difference here. You don't do all the testing. You don't do all the other things that you do with a proof of concept or beta program. You just like, look, the AI made it work, so therefore production, proof of concept proven, technology accepted, implants beginning. It's a fucking funny thing. And now apparently there are support groups for people that have worked so much with AI, they're getting into AI psychosis. I wonder if there's... Because right now, is it Morgan and Morgan that are in a class action lawsuit against social media? Where if you go up with social media and get up to $1,000 or is it $100 in damages if it impacted your life in a negative way. I wonder if that's going to happen with AI in like 20 years or 15 years, that if you are a user of AI and a youth or just a working person 10 years ago, you can get this amount of money because they lied and deceived you. I wonder. But then I just play some more Crimson Desert and just don't give a fuck about all this nerd shit. Because I feel like all this nerd world, it's not like, I don't like being a nerd anymore. Or geek, or what the fuck you will call it. The internet has kind of ruined it. It used to be all about learning, testing ideas. Now it's all about who can be the most right or look like they're the most right, which is the most important one. How can we look like we are the most right and the most nerdiest without actually being it? I keep saying that the Big Bang and a lot of like television in general have ruined this whole, plus the internet, of course. It's maybe it's a syndrome of you're now getting into the area where people that grew up 100% on the internet with the internet are getting old enough that they can speak and have an informed opinion, in their opinion and eyes. But it's all coming from Reddit, YouTube comments, YouTube videos. Which is really fucking bad, by the way. Because that's not how the real world is. And we start to see them becoming teenagers, young adults now, and they're leeching out on the internet. Because that's the only reference point they have, is the internet and the echo chambers that they put themselves into. I can definitely see that being a factor. That it's maybe not old, maybe it's not just nerd culture that it has ruined, but almost anything: gaming, clothes, painting, artistry, or what the fuck it's called. It makes you wonder. It's they don't ask why have you come to this conclusion so much anymore than, well, I have done it, or I have tried it, or I have seen, therefore it must be true. That's the new, like, how did you come to that conclusion? Which is what a lot of people say back in the days, like, interesting. Why or how did you come to that conclusion? And then you will explain yourself. Now it's just, oh no, you're wrong because I have seen this, or you're wrong because I have experienced this, or you're wrong because I can do this. I'm still waiting to climb Mount Everest because a lot of people climb Mount Everest because they can do it. I can do it also, as fat as I am, and out of shape. Well, if they can, I can. That's the new world we live in. But I wonder when that become the new norm, that instead of like asking how did you come to that conclusion, it's all about, well, I am right and you are wrong because I. Because you would think that having access to so many people on the internet, it should theoretically make you less individual. Because you have access to so many ideas, views. But maybe it also just make people more exclusive because they don't want to listen to them because they don't have to. So they just find like-minded people instead of challenging people's ideas. Like, okay, I don't like what you're saying, I'm finding someone I like talking to. Or that agree with me. You don't agree with me, I will find someone that do and stick with them. Back in the day, you couldn't do that because then you will never talk to anyone. But now it's easier because it's so vast. It's easier to find people that just agree with you. Maybe that's the problem. That if there's too many you disagree with on this Discord, so we can just find one where everyone agrees with you. Nobody agrees with me on this thread, so I'm just finding another forum. Maybe that's why it's become so individualism, I think you would call it, in a bad way. Yeah, I wonder how history is going to look upon this in 15, 20 years. Because it is an interesting time. And by the way, trust me, because I know everything about anything. Which nobody does, by the way, but I do. I do. Oh, I need that sarcasm button. I wonder if I know for a fact AI can't pick that up, sarcasm. But it could be fun if they could. Because then you could have like a live translator, what the fuck you could call it, a sarcasm translator, that automatically would understand when a live stream or someone on the internet said something that was sarcastic. That because sarcasm is all about context. It's all about context, and AI is really bad at context. But it could be fun or great if that actually could happen. You know, like the AI can detect if stuff is AI generated, so they would say, oh, there's a likelihood that this comment is AI, or this paragraph or this paper is AI. Maybe they can do that. There's a high likelihood that this is sarcasm. Because there's a lot of people that don't understand sarcasm because they don't understand context that well. That OpenAI, that's your business model. Sarcasm detector. You can pay me later. I think that's where we need to go, man. So I've seen on Twitch that there's a lot of people that are starting to use those live translator AIs. And they are somewhat decent. So it will display the native language, and then it will have it translated to English down here. And it's only a few seconds behind, and it's as good as the YouTube. Like if you look at the YouTube's transcripts, that's done by AI anyway. So it's as good as that. So you sometimes get some funny translations. But it's not half bad. Like you get the concept of what they're talking about, or the idea of what they're talking about. Because I follow a few Japanese English slides, so it's Japanese people, but they're speaking both Japanese and English, and they will have this going on a lot of times. And I can see that being helpful if you want to learn both to read and understand Japanese. But yeah, I'm on a live streaming or long form content kick lately. I watch videos that are like 7, 8, 9 hours long now. So it's archived live streams for either traveling or people that work in a field, and then you work with them basically, or it's IRL drinking, so they go out and party, not partying, but they take some friends and they go to a pub or eating place and just have fun. Or then I watch like long form educational content. And I will say, after I went away from a lot of the mindless slop on YouTube, like the dopamine fixes, the shorts, the rage baiting clips and stuff like that, I feel better, man. I feel a lot better. I'm not like mentally tired after watching YouTube as I used to be. And I actually learn shit, learn about other places, culture, languages, or whatever. I'm history, science. Instead of just be like, oh, I just spent 10 hours, 5 hours on YouTube and I learned nothing. It was funny and entertaining, but I learned nothing. I don't like that feeling. I don't like... There's a time... So my time for when I'm like, I don't care if I learn anything or not, it's like about 8 o'clock at night. I'm like 8-ish, 8, 9-ish o'clock at night. I don't give a fuck what if I'm just going on a dome schooling bench or what. I don't give a fuck anymore. But if I do that all day, it feels like, like if you're eating junk food, you just feel bad. I feel like I'm getting more and more stupid, which I probably am, but... But again, like I said, after I start to watch these bot channels, and a little bit more, I may even fucking resub to Twitch, so not getting all these fucking stupid ad breaks. It also makes me more productive, funny enough. Because I'm not so emotional invested in a negative way in what's going on YouTube, where I have to, like, either be angry or like, oh, what the fuck's going on, stupid fucking people and stuff like that, that I actually get shit done while I'm watching YouTube. Before that, I had to like cut YouTube off. Like, can't watch YouTube for this time because I have to work. But if I'm watching someone going for a bike ride for like 8 hours or exploring like natural touristy view places for 9 hours on the second screen, it's fine. You get some knowledge, you get some commentary, you get a little bit of entertainment, but they're not rage baiting you, or mostly aggravating you. That's why I want to go out and walk more and record that. I haven't gotten out walking, and I need to do that. I should do it this weekend. Walk that beautiful path I was talking about. Because I will use that as, I think I would use it as intros for my videos. Maybe not the whole of it, but, you know, or have it in as fillers if I'm talking and nothing is going on the screen. And then in the future, maybe do live streams while I'm walking. But I'm so out of shape, it would just be a lot of huffing and puffing right now. And if I'm really adventurous, maybe travel a little bit. Because I kind of want to do that. I always wanted to travel my whole life, but I've always been too autistic to do it. And now I'm just like, who gives a fuck? Luckily enough. But I'm one of those people. For me, it's I need to get over the hump. So I have all these ideas and stuff like that, but it's really hard to get over the hump. And the hump is just starting it, just getting it done. But when I get over the hump, I continue until, if it's doable and maintainable, I continue until I either die or it's not financially doable or there's a really good reason to stop. It's the same with like I've been doing YouTube since, I think I had my first channel in 2011 or something like that. And I'm not successful by any means, but it took me 2 years to just start it. 2 or 3 years. To just start my first YouTube channel. But then when I started, I just can't stop. I mean, I do have breaks once in a while, but I just continued with different channels, different type of content. Live streaming on Twitch and stuff like that. But I needed to get over that hump. And I can only see a benefit, not like, of course, not a monetary benefit, and it is a hobby I'm losing money on, but I find it really interesting and fun engaging with other people. Just having a way to get things out. I don't know. Anyway, I think this is about it. 3 hours. There you go. Good time to stop. Have a good weekend when you come so long. Oh yeah, I promised that the watch upgrade video, or not video, live stream, yeah, not going to happen. I found out the watch that I want to mod, I can't mod, so. And I don't want to buy a watch just for the sake of modding it. It's a little bit stupid. I may do some unboxing. I may do some, because I bought a lot of shit lately that are on this way. And I may do like, because I'm going from smartwatches to dumb watches, showcase my watch collection. So maybe do something like that. Anyway, see you all later. Enjoy.